What is up, my beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of the Sacred Giggle podcast. As always, this is your host, Ashish, aka Shishi, aka Shishers McGee. My guest on the show today is Sasha Cobra. Sasha is one of the most beautiful human beings inside and out that I have ever had the joy of coming across in my young life so far. She is a tantra teacher, sexuality coach, healer. It's really hard to describe her with any word or job title because what she does is so unique and so authentic and so true to her, as you guys will hear in this conversation. And that's one of the reasons I really respect her so much, because that's really my whole purpose too as an artist, is to just be so unique and be such a one-of-one and contribute only what I can. And I really believe that that's what we're all here to do as human beings on this earth. And Sasha really exemplifies that. She's such an inspiration. I actually went to Tulum, Mexico last year in 2021 and did a 10-day retreat with her where we studied energy work, we practiced tantra, we did a whole different bunch of modalities that Sasha is well versed in. And it was one of the most transformative experiences in my life. We'll talk a little bit about that in this episode, in addition to diving into Sasha's story. And for those of you who are interested in learning more about her, I've included all of the links to her website, social media, and all that stuff in the show notes. So you can find that there. And without further ado, sit back, relax, open your heart, and enjoy this beautiful conversation with Sasha Cobra. So what's happening in Miami right now?
I just came here for a few days and then I'm gonna make my way to Europe from here.
Oh, and I'm going to Europe too in like 3 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm going to Ibiza for a couple of gigs, and then I'm going to be living in Lisbon for a month.
Cool. I've been hearing a lot of people moving to Lisbon.
Yeah, me too, actually. A lot of my friends who do meditation coaching and like healing work are out there. So I don't know if sounds like there's a good community there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Where are you heading?
I'm gonna be going to Germany and probably Mallorca.
Oh, amazing.
And maybe stop off in Ibiza too, at some point during the summer. But for now, just Germany and Mallorca.
Nice. I might actually be in Mallorca too. I may have a gig there.
Oh,
So I'll let you know if I make it out there.
Cool.
I've been doing this podcast for almost a year. I started last summer. After our retreat, I just really wanted to have you on because I feel like people can just get so much value. And I got so much value from your retreat. And so I try to keep it organic, but there was a quote that I was on your website just now. And there was one quote on your website that really resonated with me. And I wanted to just mention it and use that kind of as a starting off point. So the quote was, "When you live your life authentically, life will shower you with love and abundance as a thank you for your courage." And I mean, that's such a beautiful, I feel like, what else do you need with that quote? Like, that's such a beautiful encapsulation of like how to live, what to do. But I just feel like so many people at some point in their life struggle with that. And yeah, I think as somebody who has built a life, in my opinion, based on, what I've seen working with you and knowing you doing exactly authentically what you want to do, why do you think that that's such a challenge for people in this day and age?
So, the starting point. Our society is created to mold us into something. The way that we come into existence and what we are greeted with are two very counterintuitive energies. Meaning, one energy is this beautiful spirit that comes through that wants to express itself. What your destiny is here to be lived, right? So it's like your spirit comes and it already knows what kind of journey and adventure it wants to take you on. So what we really should have is an environment that allows for that blossoming. And that environment should start with how our families treat us, how our parents treat us, absolutely how what we call our education system treats us, and also how we move from education to what we call a career, but I call it more like a gift or service. Because all of us are here to contribute something. All of us come here with gifts. All of us come here with a way of serving humanity in whatever shape or form. And without that being the environment, what we get to is our parents all the time telling us what is right and wrong based on their own conditioning that they get from society, from their parents, from the school system, from their bosses, and everything in between. And they do it out of, quote, your best interest, right? They want the best for you. How many parents say, I just want the best for you? And so rather than listening to the child, seeing what these gifts are, seeing what brings them joy, we try to mold all these children into being what is socially accepted by our culture. And not only socially accepted, but what is deemed to be, quote, successful in our culture. You know, and I think about even coming from the culture that I came from, where being a doctor and a lawyer is the thing. You know, it's like if you decide you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, your parents feel like they won. And everything else in between is like a question mark that they can't control or expect that you will be, quote, successful in or happy in or be able to have material possessions that you would like to have. So everything else in between gets kind of cut out. And even if I look at the work that I do, I don't know anyone else that does this work, at least not in this way. It doesn't come up on a career path on career day at high school, you know? It's really something that is an expression of spirit versus something that has been molded into a particular category or name. So at a certain point in my life, and using myself as an example, there was a point in my life when I really wanted to be a doctor. And why did I want to be a doctor? Because I really wanted to help people. I love people. I saw that people were struggling, they're hurting in life, and I wanted to make them feel better. So I went to the idea of, oh, a doctor. That's what doctors do. Great. I volunteered at a hospital when I was, I think, freshman, sophomore in high school. I think like 200 plus hours I volunteered at a hospital. And then I realized I don't ever want to be in that environment. I don't see myself being there. I was so grateful that I volunteered there because I was grateful to know that that's not the path I want to go. Then there was a time when I wanted to go into, I kind of regret saying this, but I wanted to be an actress.
One sec, Sasha. Can we just rewind a second? I'm just curious what the experience in the hospital was that made you decide that you didn't want to go down that route.
First of all, for me, I'm very, very sensitive. And just like when we look at schools, literally look like a jail prison. And they tell you when you're allowed to go on a break. They tell you when you're allowed to eat. They tell you when you're allowed to pee. They literally, in some shape or form, treat you as if you're in prison there. And when you look at hospitals, and I'm not talking about all doctor practices, but when you look at hospitals, it's a very prison-like environment for me, for my sensitive body, me being there. It just is very heavy. It was very difficult to be there. That's number one. And number two, all the administrative stuff. Just like the school system, teachers don't have the capacity to teach whatever they want. They have to follow certain rules and regulations that have been created by others. And same thing goes in hospitals. So I worked in all different departments when I was volunteering at the hospital to see which one I would like. And some of it was me engaging with people, with the patients there and working with them. But a lot of that work was also administrative, me filing paperwork, doing all kinds of office admin type of stuff, and seeing how all of it was, again, politics, business, and lacked the part that I was really inspired by was about uplifting people, making them feel good versus, again, all the rules and regulations. So for me, it was like, no, I don't want to be in this environment. That's not the way I want to help people, but not like this. Then there was a time when I wanted to be an actress. And why? Well, during my time, Britney Spears was on the page of every magazine, and Paris Hilton. And it was a time when a lot of these celebrities were going out to clubs and they were showing them doing all kinds of things that I thought were just like very poor quality as far as what is being role model to young girls. And I wanted to be a role model for people. At that time, I was eating raw vegan. Now I don't. I still eat vegan, but I eat, whatever type of thing. But at the time, I had such a healthy diet. I was exercising every day. Now I'm lazy. But at that time, I thought, man, I would love to have a louder voice and a way of showing people how to live a certain quality of life. And that was my other kind of idea. But then you get into that industry and you realize, again, it's completely tainted. So much darkness goes on there. And the other approach that I had is I wanted to be a teacher. And when I went to university, actually, that's what I went for initially, was to be a school teacher. And again, rules, regulations, policies, you cannot do what you want to do. You can't say what you want to say. And my spirit basically said, I need to have a voice the way that I want. I want to express the way that I want. And at a certain point, I quit everything. And I got to, ground zero, basically saying, I don't know what I'm going to do in life. But what I do know is that I want to help people and I want to be free. I want to feel free within my own self. I want to be free to do whatever I want to do. And in other podcasts, I've shared this before, but during that time, I was working at a nightclub in San Francisco, like kind of a poshy nightclub, making a lot of money in tips, some bottle service, and things like that. And at that time, I didn't even drink anymore. I had completely quit drinking alcohol, no drugs, nothing. So for me to be in this nightclub and watch people go to the bathroom and snort cocaine and then buy bottle service, I was just like, what am I doing here? I did not come here to poison people. I remember just having this moment of epiphany, and I remember thinking, I did not come here to poison people. I came here to help people. And that day I quit my job. I quit my university because I knew that whatever I came here to be and do would not come on a piece of paper out of a university degree. And because I then didn't have funds coming in, I did all this in 1 week. I moved out of my apartment and I moved into my car. And there I was with 2 bags, that just having a roof over my head on 4 wheels, my little Honda Civic. And I just knew that my spirit was so loud. I remember this feeling of being choked. It's like I just felt like I was being choked. And I said, no more. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. But what I do know is that what I don't want to do anymore. And that's what I stopped. And from that point on, life just opened up to me tremendously. I just got goosebumps sharing them. So it takes a lot of courage. And so that quote that you saw on my website is personal. It's me saying that when I took that courage and continue to have the courage, because it's an ongoing basis, every day there's a moment of decision where you decide to be authentic, to live authentically, versus caring about what people think, caring about being validated by outside sources, and you just keep sticking and sticking and sticking to wherever spirit is leading you. And when you do that, life will shower you with so much beauty that you can't imagine. I could have never imagined that this is what I would end up doing with my life. If I didn't even know this was possible or existed as a what is possible to do and share and how to serve people. But that was how life, one day after the other, just opened up a path of me connecting with certain people, moving me in certain places, certain directions. And one thing after another led me to where I am today and continues to lead me, because I'm just at the beginning of what I feel like I came here to really share. And it's that unfolding. So, in answer to your question, also, why are people so stuck or having a difficult time in being authentic, is because it's not that we were never taught to be authentic. We're all authentic when you look at kids, right? You look at children, they're as authentic as it gets, but we are taught out of that. So, everything in our environment is to teach us to be somebody that we are not. And then we have to make the decision of what is more important, me being happy or me making others be happy. And unfortunately, most people are more concerned about other people's feelings than they are concerned about their own. They are concerned about other people being proud of them rather than them themselves being proud of them. And on top of that, the fear that comes with the unknown, right? Because, again, using like a very simple example, if somebody's faced with a career change, they may be doing their 9 to 5 job and hate it. And they're faced with making the decision to say, you know what, I can't do this anymore. But now I'm faced with the unknown. Where am I going to get funds? Am I going to end up with a worse job? Am I even going to find a job? So there's so much fear that comes with uncertainty and a very deep lack of trust in themselves and in spirit. And that is something that, for whatever reason, I am so grateful to have never lost in my life. I've never been religious. I never had to go through that religion, dogmatic aspect of life. So, what it left me with is just my relationship to existence and my feeling of what is this whole thing here and how is it navigating us? How is it playing with us? And how am I a part of it, playing it myself? Meaning, where am I the creator and where am I created?
It's so inspiring. Your story is super inspiring, especially, when you're talking about moving out and living in your car and just fully letting go of what sounded like you were making a good amount of money and like you had stability. And I think from my own experience, it's very difficult to fully commit to like what your heart is telling you. And I'm curious, was there a grieving process for you in terms of like letting go of this dream of being an actress, for example, and just saying like, yeah, this is something that I wanted? Because the reason I ask is because I feel like even in like self-development circles, like right now, like manifestation is super popular and people are writing books about it and stuff. And I think it's all great. Like it's cool. And I'm like a junkie about that stuff. So I'm not judging any of it. There's even a trap with that kind of stuff where you can get so fixated on one thing. Like I know for me, for years, my goal has been like, I want to play Coachella. Every day I'm like, I'm going to play Coachella. I'm manifesting. I'm like reading all the books, doing all the techniques. And like sometimes I feel like that's hurting my ability to enjoy the present and be open to other things that may want to present themselves to me because, oh no, that's a distraction from Coachella. I can't go do that other thing that I want to do. And I almost wonder, like, I don't know if it's like a masculine, feminine thing, but I know that even just like as a dude, I put this pressure on myself to just know where I'm going and like not deviate. And then when I do sometimes stay open to things, it's like there's this judgment. So I think it's really admirable to stay open to what life has to offer and be committed to something more than just like a mental goal in your head. So I don't know if that's something that you struggled with, or you felt like that kind of just that because the spirit was so strong, it was just like easier to follow that.
I feel that, especially with, as you say, kind of this culture of manifestation and think we want to create phenomenon, people have to really be honest with themselves to see if what they're wanting to manifest is coming from a place of ego or coming from a place of higher spirit. So, in answer to your question, when you said, was it easy for me to let go of being an actress? Absolutely. Why? Was because I never wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be somebody that could role model to people that life could be more beautiful, more loving, more kind, more healthy. So, what I wanted to manifest was my own happiness. And what I wanted to manifest was the opportunity to show others that you can live a happy life. My mind, my ego, my conditioning looked at, well, I can be a doctor to do that. I can be an actress to do that. I can be a teacher to do that. But I never had any commitment or desire to any of those labels because my real commitment was to, I want to be free, I want to be happy, and I want to show others like they can live a happy and free life. So now I'm open to life creating that for me. So another example would be like, people may say, I really want to have I don't know, a beach condo. Okay. And they're like, okay, Miami now, because I'm in Miami looking out at the ocean right now. So that's why I came. But that's what I want. And they're so fixated on it versus what they may desire is that I love the element of water and I love warm weather. It brings me joy. Now, how do I not get fixated on this Miami condo, but actually be open to where life wants to bring me on a journey where I may end up in Mexico on another type of beach surrounded by a whole other type of community and people where I'm not only having the element of water and the warm weather and those things that I enjoyed, but now I even have more beauty that life showered me with that I could never even think of from my mind and from my ego self. And that's where for me, it's like, if you really trust in spirit, if you really trust in life, then you're in a relationship with it, and a very intimate relationship with it. And just like when we have an intimate partner, you can't control them, but you trust that if they love you and you love them, that they're going to gift you with beauty and how they relate with you and how where they bring you and the adventures that you share together. And that's how I relate to life. So for me, it's having what I call a goal or a desire. The thing is, it's not a goal, it's a desire. The desire is the thing that is inside of you that says, this is what brings me joy. You know, I forgot who has that as a slogan, but their slogan is follow your joy. And that's so powerful because when we desire a particular thing, like it does not go away, it's because it is meant for us to have it. It is meant for us to have that experience. And I think of somebody that before there were airplanes, before humanity figured out how to fly through the sky, some crazy human was like, we're going to fly in the sky. And everybody thought, you are crazy. That is dangerous. That's not possible. You're not a bird. It's impossible. But that particular person had such a strong desire for it. Why? Because their spirit came here to manifest that. So when you have a strong desire that never fades out, it's because it's there because it's part of your destiny. It is meant to manifest. And that is something so important because as of late, I feel like I have gone through so many levels of my life where I plateau, something happens, and then I'm like, whoop, okay, next level, plateau, next level. And I feel like I'm going through quite a transformation now based on things that I dreamt and wished for since I was a little girl and always thought that I was kind of crazy for wishing it. And if I would have shared my desires or shared what I wanted my life to look like with people, just like that person that wanted to fly through the sky, people are like, that's not life. That doesn't happen in the real world. The real world is basically, using my own terminology now, is what we see on Netflix. But what we see on Netflix is a made up world that just conditions us to think that reality is like that, when reality is very different. So what I'm pointing to even is like human interactions. If you watch Netflix, if you watch movies, just general movies, TV shows, everything is about betrayal, cheating, unkindness, violence. Of course, I mean, everything is covered in violence, whether it's with, guns and blood and that type of violence, or whether it's just how humans interact with one another in a movie, how they speak to one another, how they resolve problems. So we think, oh, but that's life. And I'm saying that's in reverse. I'm saying life is something totally different. And when we're taking in all this information all the time, it is programming and seeding our mind with the idea of what life should be. And then we are creating it and being a byproduct of that programming. But that's not how life is. Life is love, life is compassion, it is joy, it is kindness, it is orgasmicness, it is bliss, it is everything that is beautiful because being human is a divine experience that is exquisitely beautiful.
Yeah. And so that makes me really curious about something because, and I'll do like an intro for you at the beginning of the show where I explain who you are and how we met and stuff. But for the people who are listening, I went to Sasha's retreat in Tulum last year. And for me, it was a experience of 10 days of just being so consistently home with myself that it really transformed the way that I thought about like just the way that I exist, period. And especially because I had already done a lot of spiritual like stuff before then. I'd already done like 30 days of silent retreat, and I had done a lot of like very hard nosed, disciplined, like Zen practice. And even though I know this isn't the point of any of these traditions, but just the way that I was going into it because of my programming conditioning, there was still a lot of striving in the way that I was like sitting those Zen sessions or like whatever it was that I was doing. And I remember this program with Sasha, it was so yin in a way. It was so nurturing. And it wasn't, I mean, there was obviously structure. We had to be at certain places at certain times, but it was so different from the sort of like militant boot camp style retreats that I'd done in the past. And I remember almost feeling like this sense of anxiety would randomly come up when I was just sitting there enjoying life because it was so like unfamiliar to not be like going to the next thing, you know? And you actually said something to me in front of the whole group of like, I think I forget what exactly it was, but I was explaining that I was having this experience of like, wow, this is like opening up this whole new thing and I can just be here and I don't need to constantly be striving. And I think you said something along the lines of, yeah, like think about your Zen retreat and what everybody would do if a naked woman just like ran through
Yeah.
the retreat. Like people are just like sitting there trying not to get distracted. And so my question, the reason I bring that up is because it's been almost a year since that retreat. It's been 9 months. And, I've went back to Tulum. I'm always doing stuff like I did plant medicine. I'm always doing weird shit. So it's cool. But I've noticed like life just comes back and just, that container that we created, it's very difficult to hold on to that. I'm really in a place where I'm trying to figure out how to continue that way of surrender and that way of being because it was so nourishing. Like I was getting 9 hours of sleep a night. Like it was just like not how my normal life is at all. And I'm curious for you, having worked with, probably thousands of people at this point in person and online, and just from hearing your own story of how you, for whatever reason, like whether we want to call it your soul, your incarnation, the spirit was just strong enough with you that like you were able to take that journey and really commit to that way of living. Because everybody that comes to you is seeking a taste of this, right? Like there's some subset of the population that will never even go there. And that's their path. But for people like me who come to you, have an amazing experience, and then I come back and I'm like noticing myself neurotic again. Not to say that nobody's ever not neurotic, but what do you feel like is the difference between people that are able to like assimilate this into their life versus people that maybe like they keep coming back to retreat after retreat? Like what is there anything that you've observed in terms of those types of people?
Well, first, I want to make a little side note because there's quite a few people repeating the retreat. Some from last year, some from the previous years that have already registered for this year. And I don't feel that it's always because they lose something and want to get it back. I also feel that it's because there's always an opportunity to go deeper because you're infinite in your capacity to be more relaxed in oneself. And that's what I'm really calling it, is infinite. I am infinitely learning how to be more relaxed in myself and still going. And I'm not even close to the place that I would like to be in or the place that I know that I have the capacity to be in. Because again, life stuff, right? I also deal with stresses. I also deal with my struggles. I deal with trying to make things happen. And that's where we leave our bliss, our joy of life. But I feel that the medicine that maintains that, whether it's for myself or for other people, is being loving as much as you can at all times. So, what I mean by that is that being loving, when you love others, you have to run love through your own body. So, just the act or the practice of loving others is a nourishing medicine for oneself and will teach you also how to be loving with yourself. And that pushing and that striving is the thing that throws us off. So I feel like, and I mean, you mentioned this, I would say that before some years back, the idea of being a male is more connected to the striving and trying to make things happen, kind of trying to like prove themselves in the world, have this worth, this, especially material success. There's always this stereotype of what is looked at as most attractive in a male. Well, that has always been like, let's say his finances or security from the woman's standpoint. And for women is like how youthful she looks. Well, I feel like those stereotypes have been changing, because I feel like now men even have the stress that women had of how do I have the best abs and stay youthful and be hot. And women also have the stress of how do I become now this independent businesswoman that can take care of herself and have material possessions for herself. So I feel like now it's a lot more of a human experience rather than dividing it into a male female aspect. But it's this part of trying to prove ourselves. Who are we trying to prove something to? That is my question. And what are we trying to prove? And I understand that there's millions and billions of people out there that literally are struggling to survive. So their goal-oriented part is just figuring out how to get food on the table, a roof over their family's head. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the type of people that can afford to come to my retreat. That's a whole different class of people. And those type of people that have the luxury to go to spiritual retreats, to, drink organic juices. That's a whole different mindset of people that when then they are struggling in life, you really have to ask yourself, what are you trying to prove and to whom? Because you're healthy, you're alive, you're breathing, you're very well off, meaning you can feed yourself, you got a roof over your head. What is this other extra thing that you're attempting to do, and why? And being that we're having this conversation and you're here, I'll ask you, what do you think you're trying to prove? And to whom?
Yeah, I mean, specifically with my goals around music. I mean, this is why this conversation is so interesting to me, and this is why that quote stood out to me so much, because I feel like I know there's a lot more work to do, but I feel like I've done a lot of work to understand my mommy issues, and like I know that there's a part of me that still wants to be conventionally successful as an artist, because my family is pretty wealthy actually, and my parents are very successful, and they came here as immigrants. They gave me and my sister a great life. So I know that there's a part of me that I want to make the most of that and make them proud. So that's a piece of it for sure. But I feel like I've definitely chipped away at a lot of that. And what I tell myself is that I want to leave behind great art. And I think that that's true. Like that is a part of it. But then I think the question becomes, well, how do you define great art? Like, because I've had people message me and say, like, someone got married to my song last year. Like, people give me experiences of a song really affecting them that I made. Like, isn't that enough? But it's like, that's where I think it's this thing of like, no, it needs to be at a scale where it's making me lots of money, because that's a proof that it's actually is that impactful. And so to answer your question, I think it's really just to myself, honestly. Like it's like I want to prove to myself that I came here, like to go back to your thing about we all come here with a gift, or we all come here with a path. I feel like in some ways, like my path is also just to be as authentic and free as possible and help others do that. And the medium through which I'm doing that is music right now.
But Ashish,
Yeah.
if you feel that you're a great artist, why do you have to prove that? Only that which is not needs proof. So if you are, why do you have to prove it? It already is.
Right.
So I'm saying that because it's either that some aspect of you actually doesn't believe that you're a great artist and you're still trying to believe in yourself in regards to that, and doing it on a certain scale is your proof. Or maybe it doesn't even have to do with being an artist. Maybe it has to do with financial success and artistry is your avenue, but you're still trying to prove that you're financially successful, or that, like I said in these stereotypes, that you're a man that has made a certain amount of money to give you a certain type of worth.
Yeah.
So there's still something like that. And here's why I'm also saying it like that is that life is a game, and we all are learning how to play it. There's a collective game and then there's the individual experience game. So I play the Sasha Cobra game, you play the Ashish game. And the way it's played best, it's just like when you turn on a video game. Everybody can play, but we can fall in a ditch, die, start over in these video games, right? And when you learn to play well, you go to the next level and you go to the next level and you go to the next level. Another thing to point out is that each level, when you go up, gets more challenging. There's more guys trying to shoot at you. There's more obstacles. There's more challenges. So I'm also saying that because we have to understand that the game of life, we thrive on challenge. But where we get good at playing the game is by playing it in alignment with how the rules are to be for this game. And how the rules are for the game of life is that life says you are here as a divine human being. You are here as a divinity manifested in physical form. You have the power to do whatever you want. You have the power to have a beautiful life. And you did not come here to feel good about yourself because others tell you that you're good. You came here to understand your divinity, your kingliness, and to rock this world being exactly as you are and trusting in that. So why am I saying that? You want to play at Coachella? Maybe it's in your destiny. Maybe it's an alignment for you. But life is way less likely to give you the opportunity to play at Coachella if you want that or need that to get validation versus letting go of all of these desires to prove or be validated and just allow for life to take you there, because if you're a great artist, you're going to get exposure naturally. And it's an internal dance that we have with our own belief systems of ourselves. Meaning it's the worst enemy is your own self. It's your own mind, it's your own ego. You are in the only real battle that you have to fight in your life is the one with your own self. And it's not self, it's ego self. It's societal conditioning self. It's the negating belief self. It's the aspect of you that comes in and starts to try to tell you a bunch of things that are completely false and in no way support for who you are. And most people they fall into that trap rather than realizing, no, this is not the way. I am beautiful. I have a gift. I'm a great artist, for example, in your case. And I don't have anything to prove. The only thing that I need to keep doing is that which ought to be a natural blossoming in me, which is to continue to create music.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point because I can say in my own experience that the more earnestly I just devote myself to my craft just for the love of it and get lost in it and forget about what time it is or whatever and just like do that, the more I do that, the more peaceful I feel. And it's like when I get onto Instagram and I'm like, oh, this person's playing that festival. Why am I not? That's when it starts, like, it comes back and then it influences my creativity. It's like influences what I'm making because I'm like, oh, this label isn't going to like this sound or whatever. Like, it is like very pernicious. And I mean, yeah, everything you said is so true.
But then battle with yourself. Get off of Instagram.
Right.
I mean, I've gotten to a place where I have to do that with myself, and with all of this authenticity, like we started talking about with me, I'm still dealing with the same stuff. Why? I don't do social media. I have a really hard time with that. I've been doing this work for 15 years. I have literally spent thousands and thousands of hours working with thousands of people within these 15 years. I have put in my work. And when I go on Instagram and I see that somebody took a workshop with me or a session with me 2 years back, and now they're a tantra guru with more followers than me on Instagram.
Right.
And I know what they're like internally because I worked with them a couple years ago, meaning I know what is going on. And yet, with proper marketing, here they are getting blown up. And I'm looking at it, and I used to have feelings about it, not even so much about, whether they're getting exposure, things like that. For me, I'm more protective of people because I work with a lot of people that have trauma and are really dealing with serious issues, physical, mental, emotional imbalances. And these type of people really need help. And for me, it's this thing now of social media and how everybody can become a guru of anything because there's no credentials that you need other than you just, write on your social media that you're a master or whatever, worked for this many years. It's a lie. Nobody can check it. And then people seek you out, but you don't know how to help them properly. That was always kind of my sensitive spot of seeing that, and also having clients come to me after having worked with these people that leave them in a worse position that they were in even before with their traumas and their challenges, So for me, it's kind of was a sensitive topic, but I even learned to let that go because life is going to teach them what they need to learn at their own pace. I trust in life. I trust in the intelligence of life. And whatever needs to happen is going to happen. So the only thing that I can do is focus on me, on what I'm doing. I can't complain because someone else has better marketing on social media. All I have to do is hire someone to work my social media. It's focus on your lane, stay in your lane. Don't focus on other people and keep doing what you do because the more that you're authentic to you, to the beauty of who you are, and that's one of the things that I also notice is that no one can be Sasha Cobra. No one can be Ashish. No one can do the music the way that you do. They may even steal your beats, but no one can put the love that you put into the artistry that you have. No one can be you, period.
Yeah, that's a beautiful. I often watch, like tutorials or interviews with really great artists that I look up to. And I feel like the best artists are the ones that are just willing to give away all their secrets because they just understand it's like not about the technique. It's not about the sound or, whatever it might be. And I think that's super inspiring. And yeah, I think what you said about money or like, if you are a great artist, you will be rewarded. But I feel like there can be this, I don't know if you experienced this when you took the leap and like quit that job at that nightclub in San Francisco and we were living out of your car. There can be this period of you almost have to believe it before reality is like giving you the evidence. You know what I mean? I don't know if you would agree with that, but I feel like I'm kind of in that phase right now, at least given where I think I can be if I maximize my potential. Yeah, I guess, did you experience that? Like, did you have that phase or did it
Which phase?
like the phase of like, okay, spirit is telling me to go in this direction. And maybe I don't even know exactly what it is yet, but I just need to trust what feels right. But there's no evidence in the outside world showing up yet telling you that that's just like the right direction.
You know what the evidence is? You know what the evidence is. Like, huge fucking evidence is that I was at peace with myself. I wasn't happy. And when I left that nightclub job, I got a job at this little raw vegan organic cafe where I made crap money. I got a free meal every day. And I thought, you know what? At least I'm giving people nourishing food. I have a meal. I have a roof over my head with my little Honda Civic that I had. And I felt free. So my evidence was that I felt like I took a deep breath and went, I did something that was just hanging over me all the time. I wanted to leave my university for a long time before I took that leave. I had one semester left. Everybody was like, you're crazy. It's just one semester. Why don't you just finish it? My cup was completely full. I was so clear. I was done. I was done working at this nightclub. I was done learning and studying and taking tests about crap that I didn't believe in. I was done with everything. And even though externally it seemed like things were not, as you said, showing that I was on the right path, for me, it was so clear. I was on the right path because I alleviated those things that I knew were not on my path. So it's like I just went, this no, here no, no. Now I have a clear path. There's nothing on this path seemingly right now. So it's the unknown. I don't know anything, but I got rid of the crap. And it was like the deepest relaxation in my body. Was it comfortable for me to, sleep in my car and do all those things? I don't know. It's relative. I was so happy to be free in the way that I felt at that time. I remember when I told my parents that I wasn't going back to university, I dreaded that moment. I literally felt like, the hole in the earth was going to open and I was going to fall into hell or something. Like, I just thought the world would end out of what my parents' reaction would be. I dreaded it so much. And they obviously didn't like it, you know? But I remember exactly where I was. I was driving over the San Rafael Bridge. I don't remember what it's called, but it's a bridge in the Bay Area. I was driving in that moment. The sky was blue, ocean all around me. It was like a very beautiful, spacious experience. And I just remember saying, I'm not going back. And I didn't die. The bridge didn't collapse. There was no lightning that hit me upside the head. And I was like, oh my God. Why didn't I do this before? And I tell you, this is a very simple moment for my life, but I feel that a lot of people have these types of moments in their life where we're governed by fear and we're governed by fear, we're governed by fear, we're governed by fear. And then comes a moment when you stand up to face that fear and you realize that all of those years, months, days, decades that you may have spent being in fear were all self-created illusion. And in that moment, when I told my parents, I quit my job, I quit university, I did everything all in one go, I remember thinking, fuck, I can do anything. Because up to that point, I had lived in so much fear, financially, career wise, what my parents thought. Like, literally, I thought they were going to kill me. It was just so much of all this stuff pressing up against me that when I took that moment and I realized it was so much easier than I ever anticipated in my whole life, I was like, oh my God, I can do anything. And I was very, very young woman at that time. So just imagine me having lived so many years after that. I still pinpoint everything to that moment in my life. It was one of the most pivotal moments of realizing how much people live in fear, including myself at that time, and how easy it is in a way. I mean, there's challenges, of course, but not even close to what I thought was going to happen. How easy it is to face our fears and live another type of life. And that had been my commitment since then. And when I made that commitment, life opened up so many opportunities for me and continues to do so, because living life fearlessly is an ongoing process that is ongoing blessings for each step that you take.
I feel like this is like it's like a free coaching session. It's like coming at such an interesting time in my life too, because you mentioned earlier, like how people will come to a course with you and then you'll see their Instagram 2 years later and they're like a tantra guru. And it's funny, I'm actually considering going and doing this 30-day like tantra teacher training, not because I want to be a teacher necessarily. I mean, I don't know, maybe one day, but literally just because I saw it and I was like, I just want to do this. Like, I don't know why. I just want to go do it. But it's just so doesn't make any sense in terms of like what my mind is telling me my goals are. It's like, it's a lot of money, which it's like a quarter of my current net worth. And it's also like, yeah, so it's not a financially responsible decision. And also it doesn't have any direct application to any of my like music goals. but there's just like a thing in me that wants to do it. And it's very interesting.
Follow your joy. Follow your joy. This is the whole thing. And just as a little side note, I don't care if someone takes my course and they want to become a tantra guru. Just be an authentic tantra guru. Say that you just started this. Don't make stuff up. People will seek you out, not you, but whoever. They will seek you out for whoever you are. There's always somebody for everybody. But people need to be authentic and more honest and transparent about who they are rather than faking an image. And that's kind of the part that for me is a little bit weird. But back to your story, do that tantra course. If it's a feeling inside you, go on and do it. But here's why. You're an artist. I wanted to be a doctor. I am to this day a doctor and a teacher and not an actress, but let's say to some degree a celebrity. You know, in the tantra world, people know me. Within a certain community, I do have that role model aspect, which is, you know, it wasn't never about the actress, it was about the role model part. Life created a way for me to be all these things that I wanted to do. A role model, a teacher, and a doctor, and that's Sasha Cobra. Ashish is an artist. He loves music, but he loves all things spiritual. He loves humans. He's really pulled toward a tantra training class. Why don't you follow that, your joy? Because what Ashish may create is being a DJ, an artist, a tantra guy, a spiritual guy, all mixed together, which makes you be unique to who you are and not just some DJ that plays at Coachella. So we really have to understand that it's like, you know, how did you come here to serve? Don't try to put yourself in this box the way that I try to do it with being a doctor or a teacher. Follow what makes you happy. And then the gifts that you have, you'll be able to incorporate with what makes you happy to create something very unique. Then you have no competition. Then you get recognition. Then everything opens up to you because you are being authentically you with your gifts and what you came here to be and do. At the end of the day, I mean, no offense to people that play at Coachella. I actually have no idea even who plays at Coachella. So, but a lot of people can play at Coachella.
Yeah. The paradox is like the reason I even have that dream is because I saw one of my favorite artists play there. And the only reason he was on that stage is because he's such a one of one artist. Like, that's why I love him so much. Like, it's just like, there's nobody like him and his music.
And he may not even care about playing at Coachella.
Right.
Maybe he does. But I'm just saying that an artist like that, they could be so just uniquely creating what they do and loving what they do. And then be like, okay, they invited me to play at Coachella. Fine, I'll play at Coachella. Why not? And not even have it be a goal. I mean, even for myself, it's like you really have to see what is even truly in alignment for you. Would you even enjoy playing for that Coachella audience? You don't know that. There's a certain platform that does these kind of spiritual wellness conferences, very well known. I don't want to mention it here, but it's very big, very famous. And I always thought at one point I want to speak there. Well, COVID hits, and I realized that the owner, the CEO of that conference and that platform is completely deep in the cult and completely deep in all the propaganda and was very vocal about it. And I thought, interesting that life never created the opportunity for me to do that. I never even tried to do it, meaning I just wait for invitations. You know, for me, I just go with what life brings me. But up to that point, I never had an invitation, which was kind of like a little bit of a surprise for me. And then when I saw that come about, I thought, how cool is that? Because I don't resonate with that. I don't vibe with that. From that point on, I thought, I don't want to actually support that. I don't want to contribute to a platform like that.
That's amazing. It's like life just has your back all the time.
Exactly.
You're willing to just try. It's just, I think it just full circle to how we started this conversation. It's like, we just so are not taught that, you know, it's like, it's so opposite of what we're taught that it's just, even in myself, like I feel the resistance to like, I don't want to just be like naive or whatever, you know, but it's like, it's fascinating how true that is, you know? So, and even actually, I'm just going to share a quick story because I feel enjoy this. So that same Tantra retreat, there was one in April and there's one in August. The one in April was at this like really fancy schmancy resort in Greece. And the one in August is at their actual center, like the actual headquarters in Thailand, which I guess is like really popular for Tantra. And so initially I was going to go in April, but I had made this commitment to myself to write 100 songs in 100 days, just as like a kriya, like as like my own musical like journey. So I decided not to go. I really wanted to, but I was like, I want to just like see this commitment through. I didn't go. And then I won a remix competition and got flown out to Ibiza to perform like 2 sets because my remix won the competition in April. So if I had gone, I wouldn't have been able to go to that. And now there's this opportunity to go do it like actually in Thailand where the center is. And that was just, it was again, like life just being like, just helping me out there, like dodging the bullet, you know? So
Yes. And I mean, literally, you just pinpointed something that we're talking about. And I think that is the most important thing is trust. Trusting in life. And another way of saying it is trusting in yourself. Because life communicates through you. Spirit is communicating through you. So you yourself have these intuitive ideas about what you want to do, what you don't want to do. Can you trust in that? Without any logic being involved, just trusting and the strong intuition that is guiding you to beauty and letting go all of these preconceived ideas that we're so deeply programmed with since childhood around what it means to be successful. What a fucking joke. Being a successful human being is being a happy, peaceful, loving, kind, joyous, orgasmic, compassionate human being. And everybody has the capacity to do that. It has nothing to do with material possessions. It has nothing to do with whether you play in Coachella or not. It has to do with how you treat yourself and how you treat others. And you start by treating yourself with compassion, by saying that I don't want to do this and I have a desire to do this. I have compassion for myself. I will follow that. I will follow my joy. I will do what brings me happiness. And then you're a success. It's like telling a child that, they're not successful because they're not a lawyer at 5 years old. It's crazy. But if a child is having fun and laughing, you think, oh, that's a great kid. That happy kid, that's a good kid. And then we get older and we're like, I'm not good enough until I XYZ. That is all manufactured. That has nothing to do with life. And so much of it, and this is what I want to inspire people to do, fuck society, fuck culture, fuck all these things that come from external sources. You get to decide that. It doesn't matter what kind of parents you had. It doesn't matter what kind of teachers you had. I don't care about your environment. We all live in a crazy one. What I do care about is how I choose to listen to me. And everyone has the capacity to do that, to listen to their own self, to say, I am more important than anything else out here because you know what? I have to be with me for the rest of my life. I don't have to be with my teachers. I don't have to be with my parents for the rest of my life. I don't have to be with anyone for the rest of my life. But me, I always have to be with me. So I better like me as much as I can so that I enjoy my own company.
I think that's a good place to wrap. Sasha, thank you so much. You're amazing. I'm so happy to see your face. I have a question that I ask all my guests, so I think it's a perfect way to wrap up this conversation. The question is, what makes you feel most free?
Love makes me the most free. And to define that, to be in a state of love is the most freeing experience. And you'll probably even remember, because I know a lot of people in the energy work and the retreat that you attended, we all get a taste of this infinite love. And doesn't it feel free when we do? Because in that moment, nothing else matters. When we love, nothing else matters. This is why, as a way to enslave people, they have perverted our love. They're teaching us things, calling it love when it's not. They're robbing us of self-love. Not really. I want to take that back. No one can rob you of your love, but they can make you push it aside. They can fill you up with so much trauma and negating beliefs and just so much lifetime of crap that you get disconnected from who you are, which is love. But when we connect to that, it is the most freeing experience. Because to be free is to be fearless. And to love is to be fearless.
Sasha, you're the greatest. Thank you so much.
Thank
I'll link to all your stuff in the show notes. And for those listening who were just blown away by Sasha, there are 2 retreats happening in September and October. And you guys have heard me talk about this retreat because I've talked about it before. So you know that it had a profound impact on me. So if you're interested, it'll be in the show notes, Sasha's website and everything. So
Thank you for mentioning that. We absolutely have a retreat, 2 of them, and they're more than halfway full, even though there's like 3 months before the first one. And I'm about to close tickets for women. So for the men out there, sign up. You're going to be surrounded by a bunch of orgasmic women.
Oh, yeah. She's not lying about that.
I am not lying.
All right, Sasha. So much love for you. Thank you for coming on the show. And yeah, hopefully our paths will cross in the real world soon again.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing so intimately with me about what's been going on for you personally. But keep doing what you do, my dear. You're a unique divine spirit that is here to share so much beauty, and trust in that beauty that wants to be expressed through you.
Thank you.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Much love.
Bye. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode of the Sacred Giggle podcast with Sasha Cobra. If you enjoyed what you heard, if you want to learn more about Sasha, if you're even interested in working with her or attending one of her retreats this fall in Tulum, Mexico, you can find all the information for that in the show notes. And if you're enjoying the show so far, it means the world to us if you can follow, subscribe on whatever platform you listen to this, and leave us a 5-star review so that we can get these amazing conversations out to more people. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you soon. Peace.